I'm Beth Felsky of the Gardner Chamber of Commerce, and I'm excited to moderate today's forum. The Johnson County Public Policy Council is comprised of 10 chambers of commerce in Johnson County, and in cooperation with the Gardner Chamber, have developed today's questions focusing on business and community issues. We'll start with candidates speaking alphabetically and alternating throughout the forum. We'll begin with each candidate giving an introduction and opening statement for 2 minutes, followed by a 7-question Q&A where each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer the question, and we will end with a 2-minute closing statement. Due to time constraints, there will be no follow-up questions, formal rebuttal time, or audience participation. The questions have not been shared with any candidates prior to the forum, and this evening's event is being recorded on the Johnson County Public Policy Council website, www.votejoco.com. We ask that you please remain quiet for the recording of the forum. As a reminder, the Gardner Chamber of Commerce does not endorse candidates, but does provide the opportunity for voters to make educated choices in voting decisions. We'll start with 2-minute introductions, and Greg, we'll start with you.
All right, good evening, and thank you to the Gardner Chamber of Commerce for hosting us tonight and for Hampton Inn. My name is Greg Chapman. I'm running for re-election for USD 231 Board of Education. I've had the pleasure of serving the communities of Gardner and Edgerton for 2 terms now, and look forward to earning your vote for a 3rd. I've been asked a question by several people recently that I feel is a valid question. My opponent asked me the question kind of in a negative way. My friends and family asked it out of love, but that question is, why am I running again if I don't have any kids in the district? It suggested that this somehow disqualifies me, even though I have the unique perspective of not only being a GEHS grad myself, but also seeing how well the district prepared my children and their peers for life after high school, whether that was trades, military, college, or workforce. I see where we're doing great and where we need to improve. It's also an odd question that suggests that even though I've lived in Edgerton or Gardner almost my entire life, that I can't desire to give back to the communities and staff that help make me who I am today. It also suggests that he also suggests that because he hasn't seen me at events in a while, that I must be out of touch. I've gone to many events, extra meetings, met with staff and community leaders. The difference is that I'm not seeking attention for these things. I'm at the Wax Museum to see the kids' excitement at learning about great Kansans and our history. I'm at the Exchange City to see the skills the kids have learned about business and life. I'm at the plays to see the wonderful performances. I've donated a majority of my vacation time at work to be at many events every year, and those are the best parts of being a BOE member. I wish I could be at every meeting and every event, but I also have a full-time job, just like most of our citizens do. And thank you guys all for being here tonight.
Thank you, and Keith.
My name is Keith Davenport, and I'm a proud parent of 4 children in the USD 231 school district. My 2 youngest ones are here, and they like to cheer and things, but we'll try and keep them tame. I have 2 in elementary school, 1 middle school, and 1 in high school. I'm a small business owner here in town, so I own Brown House Coffee, Ogrio Holding Company, and 3 other businesses, generating a lot of economic impact to our community. I have a master's degree, Master's of Divinity from Nazarene Theological Seminary, and a Master's of Public Affairs from the University of Missouri, Truman School of Government and Public Affairs. I do like to let voters know that after I filed to run, unexpectedly I had to move across the district, which meant that I would not be able to serve in the way that I thought should I be elected. So my initial intent was to remove my name from the ballot. When I reached out to the election office, however, they said, according to state statute, I can't remove my name from the ballot. In fact, I had to continue through the time. With that in mind, I still paused my campaign and returned all the donations that had come to the campaign. As the months went on, I did not do any campaigning until we started seeing some things from the school board, like considering to terminate an employee for free speech outside of school hours, and then information regarding the potential to ban pride flags in the school district after election day. So I felt that it was important to still represent myself, at least at these forums, and give voters the opportunity to see if they would like to vote for me, even though I would have to resign afterwards, but it would give an opportunity for change. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go into the question and answer portion of the program. And once, just as a reminder, this is 90-second answers. First question. As a candidate, what are your top 3 education policy priority issues? And Keith, we'll start with you.
So my top 3 education priorities, number 1, I really want to dig in deeply into AI. So already in just the last few weeks, we've seen Oracle and Salesforce, 2 very large companies, one with a local presence, lay off combined about 10,000 employees, both because they replaced those employees with AI agents. I would anticipate that within the next 5 years, if you do not know how to utilize AI for any type of professional service like job, it will be very difficult for you to find one. And so I think there would be benefits to creating an AI class and then developing robust ethics and policies around how AI is used elsewhere in the educational system. Second, one of the biggest stressors in the lives of students is really just the pressure of it all, managing both their lives in the educational system and at home, extracurriculars, and so on. And so in order for those students to be successful, it's important that they have access to the services they need. And so we need to create more partnerships with other organizations in the community and create MOUs that allow the sharing of information. Of course, families would have to consent to that. Third, we really need to continue to provide opportunities for college and career readiness, more so than teaching to standardized tests. We need to teach for adult success. And so that would be a way I would want to shift that in the educational system.
Thank you. And Greg, what are your top 3 education policy priorities?
My 3 would be to continue on with building the curriculum, because we've already seen in the state scores that have come out that just adding that added structure has increased our student success. And then also really focusing on raising the expectations of our admins, staff, and students. The lowest thing you accept is the highest you're going to get. And then my personal passion is community engagement. I think that the district has a lot of loud voices on every side, and we don't do a very good job of showing all of the amazing things that we do, all of the community partnerships that we have, all of the programs that we do. And I think that that's something that this district really needs to focus on, is getting our parents involved more and getting our community up to see all the wonderful things that we do.
Thank you. And Greg, we'll start with you on this next question. What are your thoughts on K-12 education funding in the district? What, if anything, would you change about the budget?
For K-12 funding, I think the state has done a pretty good job of doing the per pupil funding. I went through the block grant funding years ago, and it's been a long way since then. Obviously, I've talked with Doug Shane recently at the fair about, we really need to work on our SPED funding, but I think in general, we do a pretty good job. It is a little frustrating that we're told specifically how to use some of the money. So it'd be nice if we had a little bit more authority to spend the money locally, so that we could do some of the projects that our kids need versus what kind of the state thinks our kids are needing.
Thank you. And Keith, what are your thoughts of funding in the district, and what would you change, if anything?
So the Journal of Consumer Affairs ranks Kansas as 29th in the country out of the 50 states in public education funding. So we're in the bottom half. In the last 10 years or so, the state legislature has funded public education at the minimum allowable by law, according to the Supreme Court case known often as Gannon. However, that case, the time that had restrictions there, has expired. And so many political pundits anticipate that if a Republican governor is elected next year, that school funding will diminish significantly, because to date, our Governor Kelly has been vetoing any legislation that would cut funding further. In addition, special education funding has not been fully funded according to state statute since 2011. And while it is sometimes expressed that the amount of money increases, while that's true, the percentage towards the total required by law is diminishing. So every year we have a smaller percentage of what's required. In the last 4 years alone, that has meant $22 million coming out of our district's coffers that impacts every student and every teacher. It has been really disappointing that my opponent and others on the board have not been advocating for more of that from our state legislators, and in fact have campaigned alongside those state legislators.
Thank you. The K-12 education system requires accountability measures for student performance, focused on post-secondary success and career readiness. Do you believe the district is meeting expectations for student achievement? And Keith, we'll start with you on this.
I really think we're asking often the wrong questions when it comes to student achievement. Because if the way in which we measure that achievement is by standardized test scores or particular graduation rates and otherwise, we begin to change our teaching to get higher test scores, but that doesn't always translate to success after high school. In addition, if one of the key indicators of success is graduation rate, and that's tied to funding in any way, it incentivizes a school district to pass students and have them graduate even if they wouldn't otherwise do so. So we really need to shift what we're measuring as successful. I think college readiness, but then even further, a successful college completion, entry into vocational school, start tracking careers down the road, earnings, our graduates earning livable wages. Those are much more beneficial and valuable metrics to be tracking to see whether or not our school district is effectively preparing our kids for their futures into adulthood. It doesn't matter if you're good at taking a test when you're 30 years old looking for a job. And so we really need to change the questions that we're asking.
Thank you. And Greg, how do you feel about post-secondary success and career readiness? Do you believe the district is meeting expectations for student achievement?
So I actually agree with Keith. I think that that's something that our district has done poorly the last few, before we got on. And then now we've actually gone with a couple different testing programs to actually try to see a little bit more of the data, see where our kids need a little bit more, where they need a little bit more help. So I do agree with Keith. As far as post-secondary, I think that one's the hard one. I think it's making sure the kids can be creative, that they can think outside the box. That's something that in the career field now, some of the simplest questions, managers are being bothered all day long because the newer generation coming in just don't know how to answer the basic questions. They can't think for themselves. So to me, that would be one of the key factors that we do need to add to our research and our data to see if our kids can think for themselves and not just be told what to think or what's on the test.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Greg. What are your thoughts on open enrollment, allowing non-residents to enroll in USD 231 and other efforts to expand school choice?
I think that competition is always a positive thing. I do wish that we would have done it a little bit different timing. I think right after COVID, some of the districts are struggling currently. So I wish that we would have a little bit more time to get kind of the districts back on their feet a little bit more. But I actually love it. It's really neat to see the amount of people that want to come to our district that previously didn't have that availability without the funding being attached. As far as opening up further, state constitution, it just says that the kids will get an education. I think that there are some parents that really don't feel that the public school system has helped them. So I think that that's great that they have that opportunity. But I would hope that we can earn their trust back and that public schools can be what they used to be, a wonderful place that our community wanted to send their kids and we're proud to send their kids.
Thank you. And Keith, how do you feel about open enrollment and expanding school choice?
So open enrollment's been around for a couple of years now, and it essentially allows families to send their kids to any public school in the state as long as there are spaces for them, and there's some policy around that. There's some good use of that. In fact, I mentioned that I moved across town, and in order to help diminish the amount of change and impact on my kids, we kept them in the same schools that they were in, even though we changed areas. So there's some beneficial things for that. Teachers' kids, another example of allowing those kids to attend where the staff work. I disagree with my opponent in the idea that competition is good when it comes to public education, because public schools are public good. In economics, we know that means there is not a limited amount, and it's good for everyone. And unlike in the free market and in business, public schools don't have the ability to cut cost of goods or to increase prices or to increase their product because it's standardized across every school district. And so competition actually is impossible to really have in the same way free market is. In terms of voucher programs, we already know how those work. We've seen them in Ohio, in Oklahoma, I believe in Iowa, Arizona, and every single time that they're implemented in any state, it increases the state budget. The majority of the students who participate are students who are already attending private schools and homeschooled, and there's absolutely no accountability for non-public schools that receive tax dollars. They can accept and deny any student they want to. Anybody can donate to them. They don't have to be fair at all, so it's not good for us.
Thank you. Keith, we'll start with this question for you. Other than funding, with the exception of funding, what do you see as the greatest challenge facing the school district?
So, I might take a little bit of a sideways here as far as the greatest challenge. I think, I'm not going to say funding specifically, but I think that in general, our community is really struggling with the rising cost of living here, and particularly in property taxes. And it's something that the school district can't control beyond the mill levy. The biggest driver of that is home values, which is a market issue in terms of the demand for the houses in our community far exceeds the supply, and so it continues to drive the prices of homes up, and everybody's property taxes are going up year after year after year. And because public schools make up about 60% of that property tax bill for each family, it creates animosity between the community and the school district that really shouldn't be blamed on the school district. It's a market issue. In fact, in Johnson County has some of the lowest mill levy rates in the state, but it's because our home values keep increasing. So that means that our Board of Education needs to work more closely with our City Council and with our County Commission and with our state legislators to pass legislation and public policy that would increase the amount of housing that is created to help even out the market so that supply can can catch up to the demand and level out the increase we're seeing in home values.
Thanks. Greg, what do you see as the greatest challenge?
I think the greatest challenge right now is focusing on education. There's been so much inside schools and outside the schools that we don't have the time to do anything else. We don't have time to go try to work with the county on the taxes. We do what we can. We need to spend our efforts on our education, on building our curriculum, on supporting our teachers, on working through some of our behaviors that we're seeing. We do definitely go talk to our legislators. We have a legislative committee. We do what we need to do for our district. But I think for us, it's focusing on the education piece, something that's been missing for a very, very long time. We're doing a great job right now. I'm really excited to see this curriculum continue to grow. But I think it's going to be more than that. I think we need to find ways to really support the teachers in the classroom with some of the distractions, behaviors, and some of the extra technology that we don't necessarily need in there.
Thank you. And on a positive note, Greg, what do you think is the greatest attribute of the Gardner Edgerton schools?
I think the greatest attribute is that we are very lucky to have two communities. We get so much love from every direction. We are fortunate to have all of these businesses. I mean, every board meeting, we see all these businesses, churches, individuals donating to our schools. It's just absolutely amazing to feel the love from both communities. Every time we go to Edgerton, we feel the love. Every time we host a parade or something here in Gardner, everybody turns out. I mean, look at the football. When we went to state, the amount of people that showed up, even though it was bitter cold. I think our community is probably our greatest asset.
Thank you. And Keith, what do you believe is the greatest attribute of the Gardner Edgerton schools?
I really have to say our teachers. I have loved every teacher that all four of my kids have had going up through the school district. In fact, I think it was yesterday, we had a concern about one of our kids and some things that they were experiencing in the classroom. And so we just sent an email to the teacher just asking for some more information. And in less than 2 hours, the teacher didn't reply to the email. She called and talked through the whole situation. Really helped calm our concerns and gave us a route forward. I have Mrs. Chapman at Grand Star. She's had 3 of my kids as they've gone up, and it's just fun to have that long-term connection with a single person in the community as you get to know them. And they get to know your family, they get to know the ins and outs. I have a couple of kids who are Edgerton, and it's been wonderful to get the support that my kids have needed in the schools. I literally get more emails from teachers than I can read a day because they are constantly sending updates and information. So I can find everything I want to, and that really makes me feel safe and good about sending my kids into these classrooms.
Thank you. This will be the last question before we move into closing statements. What makes you uniquely qualified to serve on the board and differentiates you from your opponent in this race? And Keith, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things that are the key differentiators. So one of those is the responsibility itself of being on the Board of Education. You're responsible for setting policy and leading a district that includes 1,000 employees. I have significant executive experience, particularly in the HR world, of supervising employees, complex organizations, and setting employee policies to help retain and gain those. That business experience really helps me know how to do strategic planning and set budgets and make long-term, not just the short term of what's happening in term, but being able to look 10 years out and making a plan of how we get from here to there in 10 years in ways that someone who doesn't have management or executive leadership experience just can't do. Secondly, I have kids who are in the district right now, and I do not want to undermine anything that my opponent said about his experience or his kid's experience. I think all of that is really positive. I think that the thing that differentiates, though, is particularly on that parent outreach, that it's impossible to know what's happening in terms of parent outreach if you're not currently a parent in the district, because you don't get the 10 emails a day from all the teachers that's already there. You don't understand the nuances of the conversations. You don't know how easy or hard it is to schedule a conference with the kids. And so I think the fact that I have kids in the district right now make me a better parent.
And Greg?
I mean, first and foremost, that I can actually take the seat. But then the second is, I have all of this experience. I had 4.5 years the first term. I'll have 4 years this term. Anybody who's ever been on the school board understands that it takes quite a while to get your feet wet, to learn how everything works, how it's all connected. I've already got all that. I support our district now by reminding them how things worked in the past, what has worked, what hasn't worked. I've got plenty of leadership experience. So I don't know where the executive stuff came from, but I think that my experience living here for so many years actually living in both communities, and truly understanding how all of that works and how it's all been put together for, I don't want to do the math because I hit 40 this year, but a long time I've been in this district. So I think that's what sets me apart, and I would definitely appreciate the vote.
Thank you. We'll now do closing statements. Just a reminder, these are 2-minute closing statements. And Greg, we'll start with you.
I get to open and close. I'm just going to read a couple things that we've worked on as a board. I'm not going to take the full 2 minutes, but I do want you to go visit my site. Keith made a valid point. I took mine down about a year or two ago when I got doxxed. So I made a new one. Visit Greg Chapman for USD 231 on Facebook. But we ran on getting a new superintendent, parent choice for COVID education turned into books, fiscal responsibility, helping fix the SPED department, getting a SPED director, opening the schools back up, repairing relationships with local governments and businesses, real world learning, actually creating a curriculum for the first time in years, working on staff morale, ending staff retaliation that was happening constantly, opening communication with parents and citizens. Sounds like communication is definitely working pretty well. And then we actually opened the BOE meetings up to everyone, which was not something that the previous board had done. We also fixed how long everybody could talk and made it so that it didn't have to be just one person speaking on one topic. Everybody could talk on the same topic, which some days I regret, but it's definitely still worth doing. We hired a new safety officer now. Got an additional SRO. My personal favorite, because I've been on the tech committee, is we finally got actual tech coming for our teachers, so they're not stuck on little tiny Chromebooks. And like I said, I'll leave it there. I definitely appreciate the last 2 terms, and I hope that I've earned your respect and your vote for the next election in November.
Thank you. Keith?
I'm going to tell you a story. So this school year, just in the last few weeks, I have heard from 3 different students who have recently come out as members of the LGBTQ community. It's the very first time that they've said anything publicly about that. And one of these students in particular, immediately, as soon as other students in his class or grade learned, he began to be made fun of. And what's challenging right now, as good as all those things on the list are, some of the students in our school district do not feel safe and they don't feel respected by our current Board of Education, because there continues to be misinformation, decisions made based on personal or religious beliefs as opposed to science and truth. And what it does is it makes some of our students feel like they're less than the other students. They don't feel safe coming to school. And if we want bullying to stop at the grade level, we need to make sure that our Board of Education is setting the example there and giving every student the respect that they deserve. One of the reasons that I am up here and still think that there's value in being elected is to help decrease the amount of bullying of our LGBTQ students that happens on the Board of Education each and every month. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your participation here this evening. Thank you for your willingness to serve the community. And also thanks to everyone who's attended here tonight and is watching this candidate forum recording. I'd like to remind everyone that advance voting begins the 25th, and please get out to vote on Election Day, November 4th. For more candidate information and candidate questionnaires, you can visit www.votejoco.com, and this concludes our candidate forum for position 6. Thank you.